What's up, E3 Off-Road? In this video, we're going to be talking about downhill driving techniques that can be really important in not only making sure that your vehicle stays safe and doesn't flip, but also making sure that you are as safe as can be off-road. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have Kevin demonstrate something here, and it's a very common scenario that you might find yourself in off-road, and that's an off-camber downhill descent. And for anyone who's been in an off-camber situation, it's sketchy enough to begin with, but when you're adding going downhill and sharp descents along with that, it can get even more scary. Now, what Kevin's going to demonstrate are two very important techniques. One is making sure that your tires are always pointed downhill in the direction you want the vehicle to travel. And number two, he's also going to demonstrate the roll-through technique, which is something you can use when you're in an off-camber or scary situation and you don't know whether or not the vehicle is going to tip or not as you come off of something. This roll-through technique can actually save both you and your vehicle a lot of damage. Kevin, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Okay, so first and foremost, I want to be in 4 low in first gear manual and have the sway bar disconnected. So I'm going to start it up.
Another really important thing that you want to make sure is that your lockers are off. And this goes for just about any downhill decline that you come across. When your lockers are on, it can cause you to crab walk and it can cause damage to the vehicle itself.
Right, Brittany is totally correct with that. So you want to make sure your lockers are off, because with the lockers on, it's going to cause you to actually go down the hill sideways, is what she means by crab walk. So as you're moving forward, for every foot you go forward, you're going to go down 2 or 3 feet with the lockers on.
Which is usually not what you want to happen.
Okay,
right.
So neutral, 4 low, manual, first gear, so that way you have the slowest descent possible. Foot on the brake.
Now what Kevin's going to demonstrate here is kind of an example of what an off-camber downhill might look like. So he's going to come off here, and he's going to notice, you're going to notice, the Jeep is actually going to begin to tilt sideways pretty drastically. And in a lot of situations, this can start to get super scary, especially when there's a lot of sand or slick surfaces around, wet terrain, snow, sand, anything along those lines. Now, what you'll notice is as you start to come downhill, the fear or the actuality of the vehicle sliding or beginning to slide sideways can happen. And so what you want to do at that point, Kevin?
Okay, so as we're coming down this, we're kind of pretending there's an obstacle here or maybe a drop off that you don't want to go off of, so we're going around it. So I'm constantly, as I'm coming down, I'm making sure I'm always pointing down the hill. You don't ever want to start turning up the hill, because that's going to cause you to go over the opposite way.
In the opposite direction.
So even if you're only pointing slightly downhill, that's fine. So now we're going to start coming up on our right as we come down on our left, and that's where, okay, so this is where most people
start to get really freaked out.
Yeah.
And this is where it's really important that you start to turn all the way downhill, the direction you want the vehicle to travel. And so what Kevin's going to do is he's going to put the vehicle at full lock to the driver's side, so he's aimed directly downhill. And we're going to imagine that at this point, we're in something super sketchy, where if we slid too much more, we might end up not only flipping the vehicle or coming off a crevice or going down into a really steep drop-off that we really don't want to do. So what we're going to use at this point is called the roll-through technique. And what that involves
is just rolling through at this point. So when Brittany said full lock, she doesn't mean lockers. When she said full lock, she means full steering
The steering
lock.
wheel all the way to one side. Thank you for
point,
clarifying that.
I'm going to point all the way downhill. Brittany, go ahead and move out of the way for me.
Yep, I'm going to get out of the way. But also one thing that you really want to keep in mind here is not only is he at full lock, when he rolls through, the reason we're rolling through, we're not going to use the brake. What the brake can do is it can actually shift the weight of the vehicle and cause it to slide in an undesirable direction.
Right,
so he's going to make sure that he doesn't get onto the brake. We definitely don't want to jab the brake, and we're just going to make a very smooth roll off the hill.
Right, so from here on out, once you let go of the brake, you don't want to jab the brake again. From here on out, it's just a kind of a commitment. Okay, I see where my tire's at. It's pointing downhill. There's nothing over there in my way. I'm going to kind of just come, give it a little gas.
Roll out of it.
Come through.
Just like that. So remember, it's really important here that you don't want any weight transfer to be going on. So no sharp braking. And even if you have to use the throttle, that's okay as you come out of the obstacle or out of the downhill, but you don't want to jab the throttle, because again, that does shift the weight of the vehicle. So you want to make sure that anything that you do is smooth, easy, and gradual so the vehicle can roll out of it safe and sound.
Exactly.
And this is just a tool for your tool belt that can keep not only the vehicle safe and undamaged, but could also keep you safe as well. Guys, I hope this was informative. I hope you learned a little bit, and I hope that we will see you
out
on
the
the trails.
Later, guys.